With TennoCon 2017 being over, they did reveal a few, let's say, interesting things. We'll get to tennolive in a second, but before tennolive, the live stream, there was actually two that did a panel beforehand, but on the art creators panel and a few of the other ones, they did show the new grineer ghoul. Two of them, actually. There's the expired one that's been on the screen, and the sawman sawmen, kind of, I want to say is the non-expired version, but the two of them look kind of completely different. These are, of course, from the whole convention comic, which there will be a link in the description if you want to go and download that as a PDF to actually have a read of it. It was a printed version it said it was going to be an exclusive to the TennoCon, but then appeared halfway through the day as a PDF, so it's actually interesting to read that. We'll let you read it for yourselves. Then, of course, there was the Kurashigma, however that is pronounced. Really nice looking whip thing. It actually looks like it's a grappling hook type weapon, but could be a skin. Don't really know. Let's just say a weapon and move on, because that's not the important thing about this. That does look nice, whether it actually looks like an entire weapon. The more important thing here is Hydroid Prime. It has been confirmed the next Prime will not be Limbo, it's Hydroid. And he does look much nicer than his normal version. Better of all, he will come with the balisitca Prime, which is of course the secondary, has to be better than the Raptor. Goes without saying, if it's not better than the Raptor, then there's just no point priming it. And of course, the Nami Skyla Prime. I would have liked to have seen the Sidon Prime, the trident looking thing, but this with Pirate Prime, yeah, it does make a bit more sense to have that than the other thing. It really does. And of course, there was also the glass frame. This is the next frame to come out. They did mention it's not just solid glass, but liquid molten glass as well. So it's not just going to be mirrors and reflections and lots of see-through walls. Though, that would be a good defensive thing. Just put a glass wall in front of something and it bounces all the bullets back until it shatters. And then the shatter maybe shoots out and kills things. Don't know, that it's just the concept art for it, but glass frame does sound pretty interesting. But the first big reveal from tennolive was, well, it's from the video from much earlier that everybody says either going to be Hydroid Prime, Limbo Prime, Umbra. No, it's a reclaimed settlement that these are the people that you are defending, and it's set around. They called it one of the remaining living towers, which explains why they're trying to cut parts off it when you actually land. But this entire zone is classed as a weapon-free zone, so it's a peaceful zone where all factions come to trade and such, and that's where things started to get interesting, the trade part of this. The first big thing was custom built weapons. You can now build weapons from different parts at the Astronos Anvil, however that was called. And the coolest part of all of this is they can look different. They will do different damage types and everything else depending on the parts you put into it. And you can even name your weapons. And of course, your weapon setup. That could throw a whole new aspect into this. But in this area, there are also missions available to do for people in the area. And that's when things took a very weird, massively unexpected turn. The whole cinematic after that was basically showing off the fact that they've turned it into a giant free roam type area instead of just tiled rooms that you have doors opening or you're inside of a ship or it's certain areas of a planet. It's a huge chunk of a world, kind of, and I did say this in chat into the clan. I was actually in-game while watching this. It's very MMORPG style, the way that that is, which could work and might not. And the reason I said that was, well, basically they went on about collecting resources and weirdly fishing. But of course, for this whole area, they did have to bring Archwing into it, didn't it? To get around, that actually would work really well. That was very well thought up. But the interesting thing wasn't the fact you can summon your Archwing, it's the fact that you could summon it for people playing with you. And the fact that they later used abilities from the Archwing after flying it around, but while flying it around, had a hold of the normal Warframe weapons. They had the Latron in the hand the whole time, so it didn't bring out Archwing weaponry. It brought out the Archwing alone to get around with, but you still had your normal weapons, which that could also be really, this entire thing was really interesting. Which is, of course, going to add to the amazing open world aspect that they're trying to add into Warframe. They did then go on to actually demonstrate the mission that they picked up in the village type thing earlier, because they didn't really get into the ship, they just walked out into the open world. No loading screen. Huge bonus. Not many games actually manage to pull that off, so if that makes it into the final thing, that'll be great. But then this very weird thing happened that kind of turned the entire mood of this whole demonstration of an upcoming area. It turned nighttime. The grineer left. There was this cinematic of green, blue, glowy stuff coming out of the floor. And then this thing emerged from the lake. I'm trying to remember. I think they called it an Eidolon, which, if I remember rightly, was an ancient race of peacekeepers. I'm not sure about that one. It's just the name rings a weird bell. I know it from somewhere. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong compared to how I have it written down, but it looked like the sentience are finally here. So night times are going to be deadly over daytimes. They did also go into some concept art for some operators, because the past few quests have been operator heavy, and then they started showing this cinematic for the next quest that they did confirm is going to be less operator heavy, because the past two have been very heavy on the operators. The War Within and Chains of Harrow have been very operator heavy, and it showed this sword, and it was almost at the point where it kind of turns around and you see the outline of a frame standing in the, oh look, it's got a horn and a very rugged, yep, that's exactly who you think it is. Despite them turning around and saying Hydroid Prime wasn't the teaser trailer from earlier on, and Umbra wasn't a thing that they were even working on a few months ago, yeah, both of them were confirmed in this. The next big cinematic quest is going to bring Umbra. Whether that comes before that whole village thing arrives, nobody really knows. They didn't really confirm that. The village thing, they said 2017. Umbra was just called The Sacrificed, and they basically ended on that. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing. We'll leave this off here for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.
If you could trade, would you? Surely. But all miracles require sacrifice for their life. yours.